Hi, this is Julie Walls for Brain Retraining. Welcome, Brain Retrainers. I'm going to do my first round here on my YouTube channel. I'm super excited. Um, for those of you that have started this process, please refer to your negative looping pattern journal to kind of touch base with some of those negative thoughts and negative patterns that you've wrote down today to kind of recognize the fears that are associated with those thoughts, those negative thoughts. And that's the first thing that I do when I start my rounds is I start with my negative thought or pattern. And usually there's always some sort of loop as we're retraining. And most always there's a fear associated with that loop. It could be, started with some sort of an it, which we in the brain retraining world, it is referred to as a symptom. And the negative loop is usually what are the thoughts that are coming with that symptom? Is it a fear of suffering? Is it a fear of worrisome thoughts? Is it a fear of not being able to do something? Is it a fear that this could be a certain type of diagnosis? And then what we like to do is train upon that fear. So our whole rounds are centered around that specific fear that's associated with that it. So today, what I like to do is I have a journal and I write down, let's say I'm dealing with an it, and all of a sudden I notice that I start being fearful of, something that has to do with that it. It could be energy. With energy, it's usually I'm not going to be able to do what I need to do today, or start, checking in and start backing away and being fearful of going to a social gathering, or being fearful that I'm not going to be able to get everything that I need to get done today. So with the loop, it's, you start going down that road. We've all been there, we've all done that. That is the focus. Um, and so when we construct our rounds, that is the foundation of where we start and what we focus in on as we're doing our rounds. So today I want to focus it a little bit in on just some of the fears that are associated with some energy issues. Um, a lot of times it's a fear of not being able to be on or present, or being able to successfully interact with other people. So there's a lot of association with energy and a fear that's attached to that. So today I'm going to construct my round based upon that specific fear. Um, Fear of lack of energy, or fear of my body not producing enough to be able to get through my day, or be able to meet up with people, or be able to just perform basic tasks throughout the day. So that lack of energy again is connected to a fear, and we want to stop that pattern thought. So I'm going to create a round that's based on my fear of people, which is attached to a fear of judgment. And so I notice with a lot of times with my energy lulls, they have a lot to do with, you know, if I have an engagement or something that I have to go to. I usually get hit with a little bit of energy issues, and then I start to dissect why that is. And usually it has everything to do with a trigger, which is having to um, be on, or be fully engaging, and being, using up all of my energy to interact with people. And usually there's a lot more to that, which is I'm finding there's a fear of judgment, a fear of not being on, fear of not entertaining, fear of not people pleasing, a fear of not being the best, most perfect presentation of myself. And, and that takes a lot of energy out of me. So I'm really a big advocate of coveting that energy. I'm a big advocate of really saying it's okay. I want to go to these social engagements, but I don't have to be a performer. I don't have to entertain people. I am who I am. I don't have to um, get the most likable votes. I kind of laugh about that phrase, but it's so true. It's like, you go to some engagements and you feel like you just have to be super smiley and, getting everybody to like you and love you. And I don't have to do that. And it's okay if I just want to be an observer. It's okay if I just want to sit and be mindful and just kind of like be an observer and be a wallflower. It's okay to be that way. Um, and I think that again takes off some of that pressure, that expectation that we put upon ourselves. And, and then also just accepting. It's just an acceptance of, you know what? It's okay that sometimes when I go to social engagements, I don't have to be on. I can be off. I can have a moment of just silence and sitting there quietly to myself and just be an observer. And that's okay. So, um, I try to train on that specific fear, and I try to give myself a lot of I am statements that I am enough. I am perfectly capable of going to any situation. I am perfectly happy of sitting there and being in a mindfulness state. I am peace. I am calm. I'm confident. I do all those I am statements and I incorporate that into my rounds. Again, I like to mention with every round that I do, I like to mention that I don't specifically do a Gupta round and I don't specifically do a DNRS round. I do have a DNRS background and I have a Gupta background. I am not a coach. I am just a brain retrainer, just like you. And I've shared a lot of rounds with other people. I feel that's so beneficial. It keeps me accountable. I purely am doing this to share, my journey and be accountable for myself and pretty much keep myself heavily moving forward with brain retraining. We all get hit with those lulls as we're retraining and as we've been retraining for many, many months, and some people several years. You do get hit with those lull moments, and this is just keeping me engaged with continuing with my brain retraining. So I hope this helps you, but I'm going to go ahead and get into my round. So what I like to do is I like to position myself in a seating position. Some people cannot sit up. Some people are bed bound and they're starting the brain training process, and that's okay too. Just be comfortable. Um, it's really is impactful if you can do the brain retraining steps, which is standing up, doing the stop, 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 moving backwards, utilizing your hand positions. Um, there's the steps that are involved are instrumental. They are using different parts of the brain. But if you're bedbound and you're not able to do that, that's okay too. The only thing that I ask is that you find an anchoring position. So either you can anchor with your hands, or you can anchor with your feet, or you can get in a seated pose that feels really secure and grounded. Um, it's really your call, but if you can't get up and do the steps, try to find an anchoring position. Like I said, that'll keep you grounded. Okay. All right. Let's get into position. I'm going to go ahead and sit in step one. I'm going to sit down and do my round. So I'm in seated position one. So take a couple deep breaths in. Now I want you to think about your journal or a piece of paper, or just getting yourself sitting in this position and starting your round. Think about those negative thoughts, or those patterns that you noticed today. I know for me, I had some negative thoughts about my energy and, what I'm capable of getting done, and starting to question my capabilities, my capacity, kind of going in and checking in on that energy battery in my brain and in my body. And it just doesn't feel good. I I think to myself, well, I could have thought of other things instead of thinking about focusing in on my energy battery. But it's still there, and I can't dismiss it. So it's popping up and popping up around. And I call it my little fear monster jumping around in my left field of vision. And there's a lot of darkness, a lot of darker energy. It just doesn't feel very good. And I just feel really tight. I'm checking in with my body when I feel this negative energy there. I can feel me being tense. So I like to kind of check in with my body at the beginning of the round just to see how I feel from the beginning to the end. And right now I'm just feeling tense and tight, a little bit stressed out in the brain, a little bit of tightness around my head, kind of anxious a little bit. I feel just, ugh, you know how that is. And it just does not feel good, right? So I call upon my spirit guide. And this is the part where you check in maybe with a spiritual connection, or some people that are not religious or connected spiritually, they call upon Mother Earth or the universe. And I like to connect with God, Jesus, and my guardian angel, which is my sister who had passed a long time ago. And I feel her spirit, her energy, and she's starting to come towards me. And I see that beautiful glowing light around her body, swirling energy of love, connection to God, to the ground, to the earth, to the universe, to all my loved ones. But she's here with me. We have this special connection. She's like my tribe that's with me at all times, the person that I talk to subconsciously. And I feel just safe and surrounded by love and understanding and compassion. And she starts walking towards me with her arms stretched out. And I feel her lightly touch my shoulder. And it's okay if you want to touch your own shoulder now. And I feel her presence of love and softness and gentleness and kindness, and understanding, and complete unconditional love all around me. And it's almost like a white light of blanket that's swirling around my body, around my head, around my shoulders, wrapping me up in this beautiful light. And I feel her next to me, and she whispers into my left ear, "I'm here with you. Don't worry. We've got this together. I'm standing right next to you. I'm here. I'm here to protect you, but I need you to do me one favor." This is when I would stand up and I would step into position 2, get back to checkpoint. And I put my hand up, and this is the moment where we're going to block, push away that negative thoughts, those fear monsters in the left part of our brains, in the left field of vision. And I say, "Stop, stop, stop." And I step back and I take a deep breath in. And as I'm blowing out, I push it all the way to the left. And I can feel a little bit of a shift, but I feel like I need one more big deep breath in and push it all out. So I'm going to step back again and go stop, stop, stop. And push it away. And I relax my shoulders. And I feel her presence in front of me, next to me, beside me, and she's got her arms around me. And she says, "Good job. That was a really hard thing to do, but you did it." She said, "We're going to go now to our first visual. It's a grounding visual. It's the same with every round that I do. It's the same visual. It's a grounding visual to get my whole brain to shift, get more stability. So I'm standing at checkpoint. I'm in my first visual. My sister's standing next to me. And I feel that wind on my face. It's a breeze, and it feels very cooling. I can feel it on my nose, on my cheeks, on my skin. It feels really refreshing. And I'm standing there on this step, this granite rock that's under my feet. And I'm wiggling my toes back and forth, and I can feel the variations, the grooves in the rock under my toes. I can feel the heaviness. It feels strong, it feels sturdy, it's not going anywhere. It's been tested, it's been worn. It's had everything thrown at it, and it's still there, standing strong. And I feel held underneath it. I feel strong, sturdy, steady. It's building up that energy of confidence in my body. And I look outward and I look down and I see more steps, more granite steps below me that are kind of carved or niched out of the side of this hill, this valley area. There's all this beautiful wild grasses and scattered rocks and boulders all around me, underneath me. And I see low bush flowers, some different purples and hot pinks and little tiny yellow flowers poking up everywhere, every which way, and different spots scattered throughout. And as I look down, I can see the staircase that's going all the way down the valley. And it's dipping and it's winding and goes around these big boulders. And there at the bottom, and I can hear it, is the sound of water. Can you hear the water? It's rushing. It's a steady flow of energy. And I can hear it moving consistently down below. And it looks like it's a river. It's like a pretty narrow river, but wide enough that you could pretty easily ride a boat down. And down the base, there's a little area next to the riverbank that's this really neat looking little dirt patched area you can see it. It's very visible. It's a place where animals go. It's a stopping point. There's dirt, and I can see some hoof prints in the mud, in the grass. It looks like a really popular spot. And then there's that willow tree, that source of strength and bending, that symbolism that I have in my visual. It's that willow tree that's strong, that's hanging over the river. It's getting its roots soaked with all that water, that groundwater. So this willow tree is strong. It's got a wide trunk, really big, beautiful vine branches that are just real full and a lot of life to it. And all the branches are hanging over the water and hanging over that little cooling, muddy grass spot right next to the river bend. And I can see the branches just tickling the top of the water, and the water's flowing past it. And you can see that one vine kind of dancing on top of the water, floating, getting pulled. And then I can see that little leaf getting that leaf that's on the willow tree that gets popped off. And I'm watching it, following it all the way down. It looks like a little leaf boat. Can you see it? It's going around the rocky bend. There's rocks in the water, creating some obstacles. And it just turns and twists and follows the river. It doesn't matter. The river keeps pushing it. There's no stopping. It just keeps flowing. It's consistent flowing of energy. And this little leaf boat gets stopped by the rocks, but then it gets pushed through, and then there's a calming area, and it just kind of floats. And then you see that tree that's fallen over the side of the river, created a little bit of an obstacle, but there's an opening, and that little leaf boat goes around the tree. bends, and the river starts winding a little bit. And then there's that opening, the mouth of the river where there's all these little rocks, except for this one spot where it's a little bit more open and the water's just steadily flowing. And that leaf boat just goes right through that rock, right past those rocks for that opening, and just poof, pops out into that big, beautiful lake. And that big, beautiful lake is open and wide. And it's just out there. It looks so calm and peaceful. And can you see that reflection of the mountains in the distance in the lake? I mean, there are just big, beautiful mountains in the distance, and it's just reflecting on the surface of the lake, like mirrored image. So you can see all the different colors of blue and gray and the variations of the rock. And right in between the rocks and the mountainous ranges, there's that sun, that glowing, bright sun, mid-afternoon sun, starting to set for the evening. So it's got a little bit of blues and some yellows and some oranges in the skyline. And it's shining down on the lake below. So I can see the reflection. It just there's some waves in the water, but there's that bright orange and the sun is shining. You can still see the glimmer on the lake. And then my symbolism of strength and leadership of my own healing path, healing journey, that bald eagle just starts flying in over my shoulder. His arms are outstretched. He's feeling the wind too. We're both feeling that wind and that pull and that push. But he's determined to make his way all the way down to the lake. And his wings are outstretched so I can see the brown, the variations in the wings, the different colors of brown. And his beautiful white headdress and his beautiful white tail feathers. Really cool looking. He's a big bird, big, strong beast of a bird. And he sees me. He acknowledges that I'm there. He turns his head back and he looks at me, and in his eye I see the reflection of the sun. Almost like a glimmer of hope of like, you can do this. He's resilient, I'm resilient. We're both leaders in our own healing journeys. And I watch him soar all the way down below. And then his whole body disappears in the reflection of the lake. And I come back to myself standing on that step. And now I feel my sister's presence standing in front of me. She's got her hands on my shoulders, rubbing my shoulders. She says, okay, now it's time for you to speak lovingly to yourself. Remember that inner child, that 3-4-year-old brain that we need to talk to lovingly, especially when we're dealing with those negative thoughts. And I turn to her, and this is when I would turn around in checkpoint position, and I'd speak lovingly to myself, and I say, you know what? You're doing a great job, Julie. I know that you're feeling that frustration. I know that you start checking yourself with that energy stuff. I know it doesn't feel good. I know it doesn't, but you do have the energy. Our bodies are made of energy. Your brain is reboosting and recharging its battery. Your body is recharging its battery even when you're not having to do the work. Your body's doing the work for you. You don't have to worry. I'm here with you. My sister's here with you. We're all here to support and love you, and you don't have to do anything. Just be you. We know that this is a limbic system issue. We know that this is overreacting in our brain. This is an alarm system that's faulty, that's been going off due to just the stresses that you've been under. We just got to continue brain retraining it. We also need to think it because it was lovingly trying to help you. It was trying to keep you safe and out of danger's way. But now we know that it's just faulting and it's going off a lot. But we're working on that. We're working on that brain center. We're retraining, and I'm so proud of you. And this is just a temporary moment in the brain that needs to be retrained. And we know this. We know that there's a fear, and we're working on it. You don't have to be anybody else but you. We all love you. You don't have to worry. You don't have to be on. You can just be you and just be. You don't have to entertain anybody. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You're wonderfully unique. You're a warrior. You've gone through so many difficult things, but you've proved that you have the energy, you have the strength, you have the resilience. You've done all these things to get yourself well, and now we're on the last piece of it. Just getting your brain to stop going off, right? You know this. You're on it. You're so smart. You have the confidence to heal. You have all the tools. You've gone down this road and you've acquired all these tools, these things that you can do to breathe, to check into your breathing. You're doing everything right. And all you have to do is just relax. I'm so proud of you for stepping up and deciding to go to these social events. We know how difficult that's been in the past, but look where you're at now. You're not saying no, you're saying yes, and I'm so proud of you. You're doing it. Just that alone should give you a boost of confidence because you're really on it and you're not saying no, you're saying yes. You're saying yes to going and being a part of this social experiment, but you're doing it on your terms. You're doing it the way that you want to do it. There's no expectations. You're going to go there. You're going to be an observer. You're going to be just in the moment listening to the sounds and the music, watching all the smiling people, reminding yourself that you can make a choice to go participate in this experiment, or you can sit there and just be an observer. It's up to you. You have complete control. And you know this now because you have built that confidence in yourself to know that you don't have to prove anything. You are who you are, and who you are is absolutely wonderful. And you see that motivational coaching self off to the right. You see that future you who you see at the party, at these social engagements, and she's just sitting there with smiling confidence in the moment, filled with gratitude for being there, just patiently waiting, peaceful, calm, has a light to her, a light of just confidence and security. She knows who her tribe is. She knows who she is. And she knows she's completely loved. She doesn't care what anybody else thinks of her because she knows who she is. She's passionate. She's full of purpose and life and energy. Completely healthy and so much stronger and wiser. And she's looking at me and she's saying, I want you on my team. So this is the part where I step up to position 3. This is when I use the DNRS. I do my I am statements and I put my hands out and say, I am calm. I am energy. I am healing. I am love. I love me. I'm surrounded by love. I covet my emotional health. I protect myself from people who do not covet my emotional health. I'm confident. I'm capable of going anywhere and doing anything that I want to do. I set my own boundaries. I have no expectations of myself. I am life. My brain and my body connect. My whole body is working symbiotically. I have balance. I'm grounded. And I can just be. I can be whoever I want, whatever I want. I am awesome. And I'm deserving of people's respect and love and admiration. So I'd step back to position 4 and I know which direction I'm going. I'm not going back to those fearful thoughts. I'm heading forward towards full health, happiness, love, energy, peace. I see my motivational coaching self in front of me. She's telling me to step up. And this is when we would do our second visual. In this visual, I'm going to ground myself. So this is a time where you want to position yourself and ground yourself. So I'm in a seated position. I'm grounding myself with my hands on my knees. And the grounding color is blue, light brown, and yellow. I'm standing on these stairs at my beach house. We have a beautiful beach house right on this like private little beach area. There's some rocks, some big boulders, but there's a lot of sand and some of that beachy type grass that you can feel on your feet. I don't know if it's a little rough, but I have to make my way through that to get to more of the open beach in front of me. So I'm standing on the bottom step of our back deck of our beach home, and I can feel the wood underneath me. It's aged wood. There's some sand on top of it that's been kicked, blown over on top of the step. And I'm standing there and I'm holding on the edges of the railing. And I can feel that breeze and I can smell the sea salt. It's refreshing. It's energizing my body. And I step down on that cool sand because it's starting to get a little bit colder as the sun is starting to set. And I took my shoes off so I can dig my heels and my toes, and I squish my toes around in the sand. The sand's going all over my feet. And it's kind of making me giggle a little bit because it's a cooler sand, and it's heavy, but it slashes up on the top of my feet and then kind of slides off the side. So it's tickling me a little bit. I get my grounding. I know I'm going to use a little bit more muscle in my calves as I walk the sand, make my way down that little beach path that we have. And there's all these different grasses and looks like, I don't know, like viney type vegetation that's scattered all around, but I'm staying on my path, this little beach path that's been carved out. It's easy to walk on. That looks very thorny and I don't want to trudge through that. But there's really pretty little beachy flowers that are kind of scattered throughout. And some of that grass that's stood up and they've got those little purple flowers on top. Feels like everything is still reaching towards that sun, trying to get the last bit of it. So I'm walking along this path and I can shuffle through the sand. I'm walking. I brought my little sweater to wrap around me because it feels a little cooler. And as I walk along this path, it starts opening up. And there's a few last boulders that are kind of scattered about. And as it opens up, there, I can hear it. Can you hear the beach? The wind, and the pushing of the waves coming in to the beach, and then they go out. And it reminds me as the waves come in, I take a deep breath in. And then as they go out, I push it out. And everything in me starts relaxing. This is my time to wind down and just chill out and take in all the views and disconnect. And I start walking out on that sand, and it feels stronger, less squishy and less mounds to have to walk through. It's more flat sand and wet, and I can feel it underneath my feet. It's colder. I can still write my name with my toes or dig my toes into the sand. It makes little divots into the sand. I can have footprints, but it's wet, and I can feel it underneath my feet. And as I look out, there's these big, beautiful rocks that are left of this mountain that got eroded away from millions of years ago, but they're big rocks out there. And a little bit of vegetation on top, but not much because the ocean just does not allow it. But those rocks kind of frame the sun in the middle. The sun starts coming down. It's beautiful hues of orange and yellow. And at the top, there's some more purpley and almost like blues above. The sun is starting to go down. It's perfect time to go to the beach. Take all that in. And I look out in the surf. There's some birds that are flying over, trying to get, a few more fish to feed themselves before it gets dark. There's one big pelican with his arms stretched out, and he's soaring, he's kind of searching. And then he lands on top of the water. He's just sitting there floating. And I think he's here too to witness the sunset. But he's just floating out there. He's kind of an image to watch. Just floating along the top of the surface, unfazed, looking around his big beak. It's really cool looking with the big, I don't know what you call that, his little chin is hanging there underneath his neck. He doesn't have anything in it, but he's just kind of sitting there taking in the sunlight. And I decide to walk a little further, and I step my feet into the water just to feel the temperature. It's a little cool. It's a little cool. My toes are a little cold, but it feels a little bit exhilarating. And then I decide it's time for me just to sit and relax on this big, beautiful beach that really nobody else is on but me. And there's this really cool looking beached tree that has been aged. It must have fallen a long time ago and got washed up onto the beach. And there's a little spot right next to it that looks like a perfect spot to sit and just lean my body against the tree. It's really kind of a pretty looking tree, unique. It's all twisted. The vines are twisted and cracked, and there's no bark, but it's just the bare skin of the tree, and it's just kind of worn, and the sun's aged it, and it's just really cool looking. It looked like a cool thing that you could put in your living room. It's way too big though, but it's a perfect spot just to lean my back up against and relax and take a deep breath. If I had a glass of wine, I would sit there with my blanket and a pillow leaning up against it. So I walk over to it, and I have my little bag of blankets, and I pull out this big circular blanket, and I shuffle it and fluff it, and it slowly falls onto the ground over the sand. And I lay it on the sand that's not wet, so it's a little bit more bumpy. And then I have my little beach pillow that I position against the back of against the tree, the trunk of the tree. And I sit down, I get comfortable, and I can feel the sand underneath the blanket. It's kind of conforming to my bottom. It's in there cross-legged, my hands on my knees, and I lean back against the tree, and I look out against the ocean. It's absolutely beautiful. And I can hear the waves come up against the sand, against the beach, and it goes back out. And then it comes back in, and then it goes back out. Very melodic. It's just very flowing. Not really any change to the rhythm. It's just peaceful. And I'm just sitting there observing everything. And the sun is starting to set over the water. It starts coming down over the water. Feels like the very bottom of the sun is touching the top of the water and sizzling. And it's so pretty and relaxing, and that's all I need to stare at. It's all I need to focus in on. It's not blinding. It's peaceful. It's relaxing. And the sun starts going into the water. I know I only have a few more seconds before it disappears into the water. You can see the reflection, the glowing light on the top of the water. In between those two rocks, it's like it's my own TV program that I get to watch. I'm just staring at it, and it starts setting, and it's crackling, and you can hear that. You can feel the vibration. Everything's starting to shift and change. It's like a change-up of the guards. The sun is going down. It's like a ceremony. All the grasses behind me, they're starting to bow down, like in reverence. This day's over. And I feel this gratitude that I get to witness this in my mind. I get to see the sunset. This great big God in front of me. He's laying down to rest. There's such a dependence that he'll be back up tomorrow. So I'm so grateful that I got to see. It's like a ceremony of setting. I know that if I get up early enough tomorrow, I can watch it rise all over again. And just like everything in earth, everything is bowing down to this sun god. And he's starting to go down. And there he disappears. And I feel so at peace, so calm, so relaxed, so connected to everything. And I feel this sense that there were others on the beach watching, maybe past souls. I wasn't alone, but we were all getting our own perspective of watching the sun go down. It was like witnessing just something really beautiful together. But we were all in our own worlds, taking it all in the way we want to take it all in, seeing it from different perspectives. And as I'm sitting there, relaxing, reminiscing on just that moment, I got this little blanket around me, and I close my eyes. And I just take a deep breath in. I just feel inner peace and relaxation. It's almost as if I just want to close my eyes and drift off right here. And allow my body just to sleep right here. Just stay right here. So I don't want to disrupt the peace, the inner calm that I feel. feel all those colors of blue and the sand, the blue water and the sand. I feel it all swirling around my legs and my feet, and I can feel the sun's colors swirling around my belly and my heart and my neck. And all these colors are making their way up over my face, around my head. I just feel totally calm and at peace. Now my sister comes to me. We're in position 6, moving into position 7. She's okay. What are you going to go do now? And I say, I'm going to take this inner calm, inner peace with me into the evening. Have a nice, relaxing dinner. Lay with my kids on the couch and watch a little TV before we all drift off and go to bed. And hopefully I'll get up early enough so I can catch the sunrise again. Now, if you want, you can take a deep breath in and relax. Okay. Thank you for joining me tonight for this evening round. I hope this helped maybe shift the way you were feeling, maybe relaxed you a little bit. It's great to use before you go to bed and have some really good sleep tonight. Thank you again for watching. Please tune in. I'll post more rounds in the future and have more brain retraining topics to share. All right. Thank you. Biggest hugs to you all.